So, this is an unboxing video, because this is something that is at least new to me, if not new. This is another Klingon Bird of Prey, which I tripped across on eBay not knowing of its existence. And this, I think, has been produced to commemorate 40 years of Star Trek. And the interesting thing about this is that it is a Klingon Bird of Prey. And the reason that's interesting to me is that Corgi never made one before. And you can see this is quite a big one. Corgi, back when Star Trek was just sort of moving into cinemas, didn't have a license for it. Dinky had the license for it. So Corgi weren't producing die-cast Star Trek toys at that point. I'm assuming this is die-cast, but I'm about to find out. So let me get into this. I'm really hoping I don't need scissors to get into it. So let me have a look. I rather thought it was going to just sort of, I was going to be able to get these end pieces just popping off. Perhaps I was incorrect on that assumption. So let me, I'm not really sure what this even contains. I think there's a stand in it, from what it says on the outside. So this looks like it wants to come off. Okay. So I mean, that at least gives you an initial look at it. And I really do like the look of it. It's a really... in fact, you know what? I can actually see more of it in the camera view than I can with my own eyeballs, which says something about my eyeballs, perhaps. They've gone for a sort of quite a sort of camouflagey look, which I have seen on some of the sort of later Ertl models, but it's not the normal kind of wing pattern look that I've seen elsewhere. So let me just try and figure out exactly how I'm supposed to get into this. I think what... okay. Okay. It's going to be one of those ones where it's ridiculously tricky to get into, I suspect. Okay, that's not too bad. So I've got a little Klingon emblem there. I'm not entirely sure where that's supposed to go. What am I supposed to do with that, I wonder? Interesting. Okay, so that's one end gone. That's good. Let's have a look. Can I get into it now? Not quite. I think I probably need to release the other side as well, just to be on the safe side. Now apparently this Star Trek 40th Anniversary Collection includes the USS Enterprise Klingon Bird of Prey, which is here, USS Enterprise D, USS Defiant, USS Voyager, and the Romulan Warbird. I really like the Romulan Warbird. I'd be quite interested in finding one of those, but I hadn't, not having known of this particular range's existence until recently, I wouldn't have known to go looking for it, so that's of interest. Now, the other thing that's of interest is that this isn't the only thing that Corgi are redoing, because I also have a very old friend, which is a Moonraker space shuttle coming as well, which is also another modern Corgi do-over of a toy that I think they did do originally, which they're clearly re-releasing. So they're obviously going through a bit of a phase of this. But what I find puzzling is that this is not this isn't something they've done before, to my knowledge. So this is interesting that they've done this. I don't even know if Corgi is still British. So I may have to do a little bit of research the next time I come across them and just see what their current sort of operating model is. Now, am I going to get something in this end bit, or is that the stand? This looks like a stand, I think. Okay. So is... Ah, I see. Okay, I've got it now. A little bit slow. It's quite late at night. Bear with me a moment. So what I think we're going to find... I mean, I'm gratuitously unboxing this because it looks to me like it's going to be very, very displayable from my point of view. So I am probably going to be displaying this one. I'm rapidly running out of display space, mind you, but that's another question. You know what? I think I'm going to try and get this out at a later date. But you can see that there is a slot there, and I'm guessing that that will take that slotted into it, and that the bird of prey will then sit on the top of the Klingon emblem, which is quite a clever way of them displaying it. It has to be said, because I don't think the bird of prey actually carries the Klingon emblem on it anywhere. So that's quite a clever combination, which means someone somewhere did their homework. Now, just trying to figure out how to sensibly get into the main box. It looks like it overlaps, and yet it's very solidly stuck together at the same time. Come on, how do you split open? Let me just pause it for a moment for you. Right, okay. I was also overthinking it because it's late at night. You just have to pull and it comes out of that sleeve. I would have thought the sleeve was going to open up in two, and it really clearly wasn't, so that's okay. Now then, stage 2, actually getting into it. At this point, I think there is more sellotape involved, possibly. I'm quite sure you run the risk of cutting your fingers open doing this. They love their sellotape. High-tech packing methodology of possibly British origin. Only the British would use sellotape to keep something like this together. Let's pop them out. Wow, okay. I know it's... Now, when I first felt the weight of that separate from the box, I had assumed that this was metal, but that's really weird. I can't quite tell you what it's made out of. It doesn't feel metallic, and yet it doesn't feel sort of super plasticky either. It feels it's quite matte to the touch, if that makes sense. You can see underneath they have gone to town on the sort of the wing markings, but again they've made them rather sort of, they're a little bit rectangular and a little bit sort of chaotic looking, and I don't know how accurate that is really. If you can see, there is a lot of detailing on the underneath. Obviously you can see where it affixes to the stand. So I mean, it definitely looks like it's, a good level of detail. Whether it's accurate, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I don't like the camouflage paint on it. That looks just odd to me. Most bird of preys are not quite that sort of OTT in terms of the differentiation between the green. I mean, I don't know if you'd agree with me on that, but I mean, that to my mind, that's a little bit too sort of modern military camouflage. It's not. I mean, I like that it's green. I mean, I would agree that green is the right sort of colour to be doing a bird of prey, certainly. And I quite like that it's locked in its attack mode, because I think that's always a nice way to display them. But I've always had this thing about how they actually choose to colour the main bodies. And I'm just not sure if that's the best example. I'm just trying to get a better close-up of this for you, but this is one of the things that this camera struggles with slightly. If anyone's got any suggestions for a better type of close-up camera to use, then please do let me know. But this is what I've got at the moment. So, it's kind of, it's okay. It feels solid, and the disruptors don't feel like they're going to snap off between my fingers, which is always a nice thing. Not that I'm still bitter about my eagle moss breaking at all. That wasn't its fault. But yeah, I mean, it feels solid. I don't know quite what it's made out of, but it does feel solid. I might actually just have a quick look on the box and see what it doesn't. I didn't notice anything that sort of said what it's made out of. I'm sure somebody will tell me in the comments what it's made out of. But there is a bit more detail here actually, but whether or not I can read it is an entirely different matter. I'll leave you to gaze at that for a moment whilst I just see if I can figure out what this says. It does mention a business park in Leicester actually, in terms of where it might have been produced. But then it's also mentioning places in Chicago, so not quite sure what the net effect of those statements is. I really cannot see any indication of what it's made out of. There is some incredibly small print which I don't have a cat in hell's chance of actually being able to read, unfortunately. But it just says it's not suitable for children under 3. It is made in China, so it's definitely not of British origin anymore, it would seem. But I suspect that the Corgi name is probably mentioned there with a link to Britain, because perhaps the company and the IP of Corgi as a name is still British, so that's they've probably licensed it, and obviously it's they've had the production done in China perhaps, so slightly different to Corgis of old, but it's nice that Corgi in some way, shape or form is still going. So as I say, I've heard some things referred to as being sort of pewter, but I don't know. This might just be a sort of a form of kind of hard, fairly hard plastic, I guess, that they've used. But the disruptor cannons are quite sturdy. I just can't get my head around the paint job. I mean, in real life, not looking at it through a camera, if they'd done the sort of the bridge section at the front of the neck there in that sort of coloration, it might not have been so bad. But it's just kind of, looking at it underneath, it's not so bad either, because it's a bit more uniform. But I can't get my head around the way that they've done the top surface. I'm not entirely sure if the garish orange engine is necessarily the right way to go as well. I know what they're going for there, because it does tend to look like that in the films and the series. I think is there a little Klingon symbol on the wing, on the end of the wing there? The odds of that zooming in are probably slim to none, unfortunately. It doesn't want to lock in on that, does it? There's a certain point at which it can focus, and I can't persuade it to, unfortunately. So I'm not quite sure if that's supposed to be a Klingon emblem or not. But I mean, yeah, is it a recognisable bird of prey? Yes, sure it is. Yeah, absolutely. Do I like it? It's not my favourite, which is a shame, because when I saw it when it arrived, I was quite excited for it, because I thought that's a really good sized bird of prey. I would say it is slightly bigger. Let me grab you my poorly bird of prey here for comparison. So that's them at the same distance. Let me lift that one up a little bit. So you can see the eagle moss one is a much more uniform green, slightly smaller than this one. If I were to actually, if I overlay them like this, that should work. I mean, the odds of my eagle moss surviving this is probably slim to none. But interestingly, it's not actually that different size-wise on the wings. I mean, it's difficult to compare them, because you can see the disruptors are slightly bigger, and the eagle moss one is thinner, and it's slightly shorter. But actually, the wingspans are not that different, albeit, of course, mind you, Yeah, because the eagle moss one is in cruise mode rather than attack mode, so the wings would look a bit longer because they're horizontal rather than being in attack mode. So I would say that the Corgi has it on size, but this is only the standard eagle moss. It's not the XL, so the XL would dwarf it easily. But it's slightly larger than the standard size eagle moss bird of prey. So, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it's a perfectly adequate display size one. So, you know, no qualms about that. I just can't get my head around the colouring. So anyway, that's probably all I need to say about that one. And I do have another bird of prey to show you, but I'm going to do that in a separate video, so stay tuned. Cheers for now.